Captain Marcus Coleman walked through the bustling main terminal of Denver International Airport at 6:45 a.m. on a crisp Monday morning in early September, pulling his regulation black pilot suitcase behind him and carrying his flight bag over his shoulder. He wore his complete pilot uniform with meticulous attention to detail, the navy blue suit with 4 gold captain stripes on each sleeve indicating his senior rank, the crisp white shirt with black epaulettes, the perfectly knotted black tie, and the silver wings prominently displayed on his chest above his name tag that read, Captain M. Coleman, Summit Airlines. At 46 years old, Marcus was not only a highly experienced commercial airline pilot, with over 15,000 flight hours accumulated over 23 years of flying everything from regional turboprops to wide-body international jets, but he was also the founder and CEO of Summit Airlines, a rapidly growing regional carrier that he'd built from absolutely nothing, starting with a single leased aircraft 9 years ago, into what was now a fleet of 42 planes serving 37 cities across the western United States with annual revenue approaching $340 million. 3 weeks ago, Summit Airlines had made a significant strategic acquisition that Marcus had personally negotiated over 6 months of complex discussions and due diligence, purchasing Mile High Lounge Group for $85 million in cash and stock. Mile High operated 12 premium airport lounges in major airports across the country, including 3 locations here at Denver International Airport where Summit had a major hub operation. The acquisition gave Summit control of valuable real estate in key airports, provided a new revenue stream from lounge memberships and day passes, and allowed the airline to offer enhanced premium services to its growing base of business travelers and frequent flyers. Marcus had personally overseen every aspect of the deal and had ambitious plans for upgrading the lounges with better food service, expanded business facilities, and seamless integration into Summit's frequent flyer program. But the acquisition had been kept relatively quiet, with only senior leadership, board members, and key operational staff aware of the ownership change, while the complex operational transition was still underway over the next 90 days. Today, Marcus was scheduled to fly Summit Airlines Flight 2847 from Denver to San Francisco, a route he flew regularly at least twice per month to stay current with his FAA pilot certification requirements, and more importantly, to maintain his personal connection to the operational reality of the airline business. He believed strongly as a matter of leadership philosophy that as CEO, he needed to continue flying regular commercial routes to truly understand what his pilots experienced in the cockpit, what his flight attendants dealt with in the cabin, and what his passengers encountered throughout their journey. He'd seen too many airline executives become disconnected from operational reality by spending all their time in corporate offices, and he was determined not to fall into that trap. Before his flight departed at 8:30 a.m., Marcus planned to spend about an hour in the Mile High Executive Lounge, reviewing some final documents related to another potential acquisition his team was analyzing, making a few confidential calls to investors, and perhaps grabbing some breakfast and coffee in the quiet professional environment. He had his laptop, his acquisition files, and he was looking forward to some productive work time before he had to focus on flying. He approached the lounge entrance on Concourse B, near Gate B17. A sleek glass door with Mile High Executive Lounge etched in elegant silver lettering and a discreet brushed metal sign indicating that access required either annual lounge membership, a premium class ticket, or elite frequent flyer status with participating airlines. Marcus qualified for access in multiple ways, including his lifetime platinum membership that he'd earned from his years of heavy business travel before starting Summit, his status as working flight crew, which automatically qualified for lounge access, and obviously, his elite status with his own airline where he held the equivalent of whatever the top tier would be since he literally owned the company. A woman in her mid-40s stood behind a sleek podium just inside the entrance, wearing a navy blue tailored pantsuit with a mile-high lounge manager badge pinned prominently to her lapel. Her auburn hair was pulled back severely in a tight bun, and she was reviewing something on a tablet computer with a focused expression. She looked up as Marcus approached, and her expression immediately shifted from neutral professional courtesy to something else entirely, a visible combination of surprise, skepticism, and what appeared to be disapproval. "Good morning," Marcus offered a polite professional smile. "I'd like to access the lounge, please." The woman, whose badge identified her as Karen Phillips, lounge manager, looked Marcus up and down slowly and deliberately, her eyes traveling from his pilot's cap down to his polished black shoes and back up again, taking in every detail of his uniform with an expression that Marcus recognized all too well from decades of navigating professional spaces while black. "Do you have lounge access credentials, sir?" "Yes, I'm a lifetime platinum member." Marcus pulled out his leather wallet and extracted his membership card, a heavy metal card that had cost him substantial travel spending to earn over a decade ago. "I also have lounge access through my airline employee benefits. I'm a captain with Summit Airlines, and I'm operating Flight 2847 to San Francisco this morning." Karen took the membership card from Marcus's hand and examined it with exaggerated care, holding it up to the light as if looking for signs of forgery or tampering, turning it over multiple times to examine both sides. "This card appears quite old. When exactly was this issued?" "About 12 years ago, when Mile High still offered the Lifetime Platinum program before they discontinued it." Marcus kept his tone patient and professional despite his growing irritation. "As you can see, it clearly states lifetime access with no expiration date. Those benefits were grandfathered when the program ended. A lot of policies and procedures can change significantly in 12 years. Karen handed the card back to Marcus without making any attempt to scan it through her computer system to verify its validity. "Our terms of service have been updated multiple times since this card was issued. I'm not certain this old card is still valid under our current policies, and I can't just take your word for it. The Lifetime Platinum membership is specifically grandfathered under any policy changes." Marcus felt the first real stirrings of frustration beginning to build. That's the entire point of lifetime status. It doesn't expire regardless of policy updates. And as I mentioned, I also have crew access as an active airline pilot. "Would you like to see my pilot's license and employee credentials from Summit Airlines? Let me see what identification you have." Karen's tone suggested she was humoring him rather than genuinely interested in verifying his legitimate credentials. Marcus pulled out his FAA commercial pilot license with instrument and multi-engine ratings, his Summit Airlines employee ID card with his photo and employee number, and his flight assignment paperwork for today's flight, showing him listed as captain on Flight 2847. He laid all the documents carefully on the podium in front of Karen, where she could examine them. "As you can see, everything is current and valid. I'm Captain Marcus Coleman, Summit Airlines employee number SA0001, assigned to operate Flight 2847, departing at 8:30 a.m. from Gate B24. Karen picked up the pilot's license and examined it with theatrical care, holding it at various angles and squinting at the details. SA0001. That's an unusually low employee number. Most established airlines have employee numbers in the thousands or even tens of thousands. That's because Summit Airlines is a relatively young carrier," Marcus explained with deliberate patience. "The airline was founded 9 years ago, and I was the first employee, which is why I have employee number 1. The company has grown substantially since then, and we now employ over 1,200 people across all our operations." "I see." Karen's skepticism clearly hadn't diminished even slightly, despite the documentation in front of her. "And you're claiming to be a captain with this airline? That seems rather unlikely for someone so young." "I'm 46 years old, and I've been flying commercially for 23 years. Marcus felt his professional patience wearing increasingly thin. "I'm not claiming anything. I'm a captain." The 4 stripes on my uniform sleeves indicate captain rank. The wings on my chest indicate I'm a qualified pilot. The credentials I've shown you confirm my identity, my employment, and my qualifications. Everything is completely legitimate and in proper order. Sir, I'm going to be very direct with you. Karen crossed her arms in a defensive posture. We've had ongoing issues with people attempting to access our premium lounge using fake credentials or fraudulent documentation. Pilot uniforms can easily be purchased online from costume shops. ID cards can be forged with basic computer skills. I can't simply allow anyone into our exclusive lounge just because they're wearing what appears to be a uniform and carrying some official-looking papers. The accusation landed like a physical blow. Marcus felt his jaw muscles tighten, but maintained his outward composure and kept his voice carefully controlled. This isn't a costume from a Halloween shop. This is my official uniform that I'm required by federal aviation regulations to wear when operating commercial flights. These aren't some papers I printed at home. They're official government-issued licenses and legitimate airline credentials. I've provided multiple independent forms of identification, all of which are authentic. What exactly would you need to see to verify my access rights? I think you should try one of the standard passenger lounges elsewhere in the terminal. Karen gestured vaguely toward the main terminal area beyond the concourse. They're less exclusive and have lower standards for entry. They might be more appropriate for your particular situation. My particular situation? Marcus kept his voice level despite the anger building inside him. What situation would that be, exactly? Look, Karen lowered her voice conspiratorially, as if sharing some confidential insider information. The Mile High Executive Lounge serves a very specific clientele that expects a certain environment. Business executives, first-class international travelers, high-level frequent flyers. People who are genuinely accustomed to premium services and exclusive spaces. I'm quite sure there are other lounges in this airport where you'd be more comfortable and where you'd fit in better with the other guests. The implication was crystal clear, offensive, and completely unacceptable. Marcus took a slow, deliberate breath before responding. I'm a commercial airline pilot about to operate a flight with 147 passengers whose safety will be my responsibility. I'm a lifetime platinum member of this specific lounge with verified credentials. I have every possible qualification and authorization necessary for access. The only thing preventing me from entering right now is your assumption that I don't belong here based purely on how I look and the color of my skin. That's absolutely not what I said, and I resent the implication. Karen's face was flushing red now. I'm simply following proper security protocols and protecting our premium members from unauthorized access by people who might not belong here. Then, follow your protocols properly and professionally. Marcus pulled out his smartphone. Here's what you should do. Call Summit Airlines crew, scheduling at this number, and verify my flight assignment for today. Call Mile High corporate headquarters and verify my platinum membership status. Actually do the verification that your protocols require instead of just making assumptions based on appearance. I don't need to call anyone to verify anything. Karen reached for the phone on her podium with a decisive gesture. What I need to do is call airport security to have you removed from this area. You're becoming disruptive and argumentative, and I won't tolerate that kind of behavior in our premium lounge environment. Disruptive? Marcus gestured around the immediate area. His voice had remained calm and professional throughout the entire exchange, despite the provocation. There were a few other business travelers nearby who had stopped their own activities to watch the confrontation unfold, but Marcus hadn't raised his voice even once or made any sort of threatening gesture. I've been nothing but polite and professional while you've questioned my credentials, suggested I'm wearing a Halloween costume, and told me to go somewhere more appropriate for people like me. The only disruptive and unprofessional behavior happening here is coming from you. Security to the Mile High Executive Lounge entrance on Concourse B near Gate B17. Karen spoke into her phone with exaggerated authority. I have an individual refusing to leave the premium lounge area after being properly denied access. Male, approximately 45 to 50 years old, wearing what appears to be a pilot uniform. But credentials are highly questionable and likely fraudulent. My credentials are not questionable and certainly not fraudulent. Marcus kept his phone out and began recording video. And I'm not refusing to leave because you haven't allowed me to enter in the first place. I'm simply asking you to properly verify my completely legitimate access rights through the standard procedures that should apply to every traveler. Within about 3 minutes, an airport security officer arrived on the scene. A professional-looking man in his 50s, wearing the distinctive uniform of Denver International Airport Security Division with various badges and radio equipment. He approached with the measured caution of someone experienced in dealing with traveler disputes. What seems to be the problem here, folks? This man is attempting to gain unauthorized access to our executive lounge. Karen pointed at Marcus with an accusatory gesture. He's presented some credentials that I have serious reason to believe may be fraudulent or forged, and he's refusing to accept my completely reasonable decision to deny him entry for security purposes. The security officer turned to Marcus with a neutral professional expression. Sir, may I please see some identification? Of course, officer. Marcus handed over his FAA commercial pilot license, his Summit Airlines employee ID card, and his Mile High Platinum membership card. I'm Captain Marcus Coleman with Summit Airlines. I'm scheduled to operate Flight 2847 to San Francisco, departing in about 90 minutes from Gate B24. I have lounge access through both my lifetime platinum membership that I earned over a decade ago and through my airline crew benefits as an active captain. This manager has refused to verify any of my legitimate credentials through proper channels and has instead accused me of wearing a costume and carrying fake documents. The security officer took his time examining each credential carefully under the bright terminal lighting, comparing photos to Marcus's face, checking expiration dates and security features. These all appear completely legitimate to me. He looked at Karen with a questioning expression. Did you actually run his membership card through your verification system? I didn't feel it was necessary to do that, given the age of the card and the various other inconsistencies I observed. Karen's voice had taken on a defensive edge. I used my professional judgment based on years of experience. What specific inconsistencies are you referring to? The security officer handed the credentials back to Marcus. This is an FAA-issued pilot license with current ratings and a photograph that clearly matches this gentleman standing in front of us. The employee ID is from Summit Airlines, which is a completely legitimate air carrier operating multiple daily flights out of this airport. And the lounge membership card appears valid on its face. I'm not understanding what the actual problem is here. The problem, officer, is that I have the designated authority as lounge manager to make final determinations about who accesses this premium facility. Karen's voice was rising now, her professional composure slipping. And I've made the determination based on my experience and judgment that his credentials are questionable and he should not be granted access. But you need to base that determination on actual evidence or specific policy violations. The security officer was clearly losing patience with Karen's circular reasoning. You can't just arbitrarily deny access because you have a vague feeling or general suspicion. You need concrete grounds that you can articulate. I have grounds. My professional judgment based on 8 years of experience in airport premium services and lounge management. Marcus pulled out his phone again and dialed a number from his contacts. Officer, I genuinely appreciate your professionalism and assistance here. I'm going to make a phone call right now that I believe will resolve this entire situation very quickly. The call was answered on the second ring. Jennifer, this is Marcus. I'm currently at the Denver Mile High Executive Lounge on Concourse B, and we have a significant situation that needs immediate attention. The lounge manager has refused me access, accused me of having fraudulent credentials, and called airport security to have me removed from the area. I need you to conference in Robert Morrison immediately." He listened for a moment. "Yes, the vice president of Mile High Lounge Operations. Tell him that the CEO of Summit Airlines and the new owner of the entire Mile High Lounge Group is currently being denied access to his own lounge by one of his managers." There was a moment of stunned silence in the immediate area. Karen's confident expression cracked and began to crumble. "Owner." Her voice was barely a whisper. Marcus kept the phone to his ear, his expression neutral. "Yes, Jennifer, I'm still here waiting. Is Robert on the line now?" He listened attentively. "Robert, good morning. I'm at your Denver Concourse B location right now, and I need you to speak directly with your lounge manager, Karen Phillips, about an incident that just occurred. I'm going to hand you over to her now." He extended his phone toward Karen. "Your vice president of operations would like to speak with you immediately." Karen took the phone with a visibly shaking hand. Her earlier confidence completely evaporated. "Yes, this is Karen Phillips speaking." She listened, and the remaining color drained entirely from her face. "Yes, sir, I understand." She listened more, her eyes growing wider. "No, sir, I didn't know who he was." Another long pause. "Yes, sir. Right away, sir." She handed the phone back to Marcus as if it were burning her hand. Marcus listened for another moment. "Thank you, Robert. Yes, we'll definitely need to have a comprehensive discussion about this incident and about the training protocols at all Mile High locations. I'll call you later this afternoon after my flight." He ended the call and looked directly at Karen. "Ms. Phillips, let me properly introduce myself since we seem to have gotten off to such a problematic start. I'm Captain Marcus Coleman, founder and CEO of Summit Airlines. 3 weeks ago, my company completed the acquisition of Mile High Lounge Group for $85 million in a transaction that closed on August 15th. I now own this lounge and the 11 other Mile High locations operating across the country. I came here this morning, as I do regularly, to use the lounge facilities before operating my flight, and instead, I've been accused of fraud, told I don't belong here, and had security called to remove me from my own property." Karen looked like she might actually faint, gripping the podium for support. "Mr. Coleman, sir, I had absolutely no idea who you were. If I'd known your identity, I never would have. If you'd known who I was, you would have let me in?" Marcus cut her off firmly. "So it's acceptable to discriminate against travelers and deny them their legitimate rights as long as they don't have power over your employment? That's your professional standard?" "No, sir, that's not at all what I meant." Karen was physically backing away from the podium now. "I sincerely apologize. I made a terrible error in judgment. You made multiple serious errors." Marcus's voice was controlled but firm. "You refused to verify legitimate credentials through standard procedures. You made assumptions based purely on appearance and racial bias. You accused a qualified pilot and paying member of fraud without any evidence. And you did all of this while other travelers watched, potentially damaging both my personal reputation and the reputation of this lounge operation." He turned to the security officer. "Thank you for your professionalism in handling this situation. This wasn't your fault in any way." Then back to Karen. "Ms. Phillips, you're suspended from duty effective immediately pending a full investigation into this incident and your conduct. Go to the back office, collect your personal belongings, and leave the premises. My vice president of operations will be in contact with you regarding next steps in the disciplinary process." "Please, Mr. Coleman, sir." Karen's voice broke with genuine distress. "I've worked for Mile High for 8 years. I have a family to support. I can't afford to lose this job. You should have carefully considered those potential consequences before you decided that a black pilot couldn't possibly be who he claimed to be." Marcus gestured toward the lounge interior. "Now I'm going to enter the lounge, use the facilities that my company owns, and prepare properly for my flight. You're going to leave this area immediately." Karen walked away with her head down, her earlier confidence and authority completely shattered. Marcus finally entered the lounge and settled into a quiet corner with his laptop and coffee. But the incident stayed with him throughout the day and the flight to San Francisco. Over the next week, Marcus personally initiated a comprehensive review of all 12 Mile High Lounge locations. The investigation revealed that Karen had a documented history of questioning the credentials of minority travelers at rates that were statistically significant, far higher than white travelers. Several formal complaints had been filed over the years, but had never been properly addressed by the previous ownership. Karen Phillips was terminated for violation of company anti-discrimination policies. Mile High Lounge Group implemented mandatory unconscious bias training for all staff, established new clear protocols for credential verification, and created a streamlined process for travelers to report discrimination incidents. The lounge that had refused Marcus access became a model location under new management, known throughout the industry for welcoming professional service to all qualified travelers. Thank you very much for listening. Please let us know what you think of this story in the comments. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel. Turn on notifications so you don't miss any other videos.